The inspiration behind the podcast really got started in my previous career as a therapist. And there's something that I observed again and again, which is probably the most uplifting conversation that can be had is people talking about an area where they've got a great deal of fear, struggle, perhaps a tragic loss in their life, some major difficulty that they're in the process of overcoming or they've overcome. And the unique thing about that is that not only is it healing and powerful for somebody to share that kind of conversation, to share that heroic journey. In a way, we're all on a heroic journey because life's difficult, and none of us are immune to life's challenges, the vicissitudes we all face, loss. It just takes courage to live a human life, to live it meaningfully and to live it well. And so in therapy, it's really healing and uplifting and encouraging for people to share that conversation, share that process with somebody. But it's also powerful for them to listen to another person's story. And it's especially powerful for people who've got to hear the story of a heroic journey for somebody going through something similar. There's something powerful when people share what's most difficult for them and how they've overcome it. Something's transmitted to the listener. So one of the inspirations behind the podcast is to transmit that, not only for people who are in the pits, you might say, or in a difficult place, but for people who are doing well in life, but they want to be inspired, encouraged, uplifted, gain practical insight to apply things that they might be working to overcome. The thing I would most want for people to get out of this podcast who follow it is really at 3 or 4 levels. One, certainly the people who are in the midst of a struggle. My greatest hope is that they feel encouraged, uplifted, that they feel within themselves and hearing another person's story of overcoming something similar, or maybe not necessarily similar, but very difficult, that would give them courage to locate the love and strength within their own selves to overcome what they need to overcome, or maybe to renew their faith in God and in life and other people. So the biggest thing would be, I would hope that people get a sense of upliftment and encouragement and inspiration to carry on and to know that life's worth it, no matter what they might be facing. Our first interview with Dr. Rindy, he lost his son, he's an old friend of mine, to cancer at age 5. And in talking to him, he mentioned a couple things, and you could watch the whole episode that will be airing here soon, but one of them had to do with he was so struck by the depth of love in his heart to endure hardship for his son. He had no idea. I mean, you intellectually know that as a parent, like, oh, I love my kids and I would do anything for them. But the 2 years he went through, he says now looking back, he's almost in awe of the depth of love and willingness to bear the burdens he had to bear out of love for his son. And in Adam's story, which is not unlike a lot of people, he started a nonprofit called Blankets for Cancer. So my hope is that this podcast really blesses and benefits all the people we get to interview. I could not think of a more gratifying feeling than looking back at this podcast and seeing how our interviews with people have truly uplifted other people and encouraged them through difficulty. So my inspiration, while I'm certainly going to be sharing my own faith and the things that inspire me, and my hope is that through all of our guests, that ultimately the podcast sort of illuminates and inspires each listener's own personal journey of faith, of courage, and ultimately inspires them to give their all to their own life out of love and commitment to those they care for and to fulfill their own potential.